Welcome everybody. We are currently live on Facebook and Instagram. So I will switch between cameras a little bit here. So if you see me looking at one and not yours, I'm sorry if you feel lonely, but I will do my best to keep up. We are here today to talk about energy and essential oils and why that doesn't have anything to do with your spiritual beliefs. So I'm going to start by discussing a few things that you might see when people talk about energy work. So oftentimes when you start to use essential oils energetically, people start to ask me questions, right? Like, I feel like maybe I'm betraying my faith. I feel like I don't understand what this is. Is this voodoo? Is this magic? Is this witchcraft? Is this, not that there's anything, wrong. There's lots of people in the world that practice those things. What you need to understand to use essential oils energetically is that there's a very strong science behind it. And personally, I have done enough research to really trust that and to know that we're at like the tippy tip top of the iceberg that is science and energy. And this has been being researched for a very long time. A little bit of background, when I first became a nurse, my very first job was working at a cancer institute. And at this cancer institute, they had energy workers. They had the hospital designed in a way that energy would flow and not get trapped into stale corners. They had the color palettes chosen specifically for the vibrational energetic vibration that gives off a feeling of healing. And so none of this was new because I became a nurse in 2002. So this is really strong knowledge in the realms where people are paying attention to it. So what I'm going to start off with is a little bit of a story talking about things that we take for granted now that seemed like magic a long time ago. So when people first started researching the heart, they thought it was magic that made a singular heart cell set its own rhythm. And that was something that people really didn't understand. And they thought that that meant that the spirit was alive in each cell. And now we know that there's an electrical impulse and a concept called entrainment. Entrainment is when there are two energetic bodies near each other, and the instinct, the natural what's the word I want to use with it? The natural instinct to share energy at the same level is there between molecules, between oscillating energy, pendulums. It's how we keep time with clocks. That the energetic pulses that come up from the earth, we are constantly in a state of entrainment. And so we are either picking up a vibration and matching ours to it, or we're broadcasting a vibration and pulling others into ours. That's why when you go to a yoga class, your yoga teacher might set the tone, right? You might have an amazing class because you have an amazingly calm teacher that brings the whole class down and brings the whole class into their body. Or you might have a teacher who's anxious and you can feel it and you're not quite comfortable and you can't seem to relax. It's because you are letting that teacher pull you to their vibration. And you can Google the word entrainment and you will get tons of information, tons of research from the brain. There's a lot of research that shows that our heart energy, when we are focused on it, can control our brain wave energy. So when we are breathing into that heart space, we can calm our brain, we can control our mindset. There is all the talk about binaural beats where we can control the rhythms of our brain, the brain waves, the vibrations of our brain waves, and there's just tons of research. So that word is called entrainment, and you should Google it. It's very fun and very fascinating. You can get way into the rabbit hole, as you can with almost every single thing in the energetic world, right? Because we're just starting to understand it, and we're just starting to pull it into our daily rhythm. Now, in the same way that you wouldn't get upset when someone starts to talk about the nervous system, and that impulses from the nervous system control our pain response, and that with focus meditation we can reduce our pain response. People don't tend to call that energy work. That's energy work. Our electrical bodies, our nervous system, are pumping so much electrical energy at all times that we are vibrating electrical energy. And you can feel it when you get near somebody who's anxious, but they won't tell you. You can feel that vibration pulsing, right? That is measurable. That is something that we can physically feel coming off of them. We can measure electrical impulses in the brain. We can measure electrical impulses in our fingertips, in our toes. When they're doing surgery on someone's spinal column, there is someone measuring all of the electrical impulses in every part of the body to make sure that they're not paralyzing the patient while surgery is happening. So we know that these electrical impulses are happening. There's such a disconnect. Yes, so many people do confuse them. There's such a disconnect to the fact that electrical impulse can put off heat in your toaster, right? Or that you can get shocked by electrical impulse in the wiring in your house, but that our bodies have electrical impulses, and if we talk about putting them into balance, somehow they make the leap into it being magic and witchcraft, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So when we're using different modalities, when we're using Reiki or polarity or different techniques like meditation and imagery and focusing, what we're doing is we are bringing our energetic bodies into a state that is calm. We're raising the vibration to one of healing, where we're supposed to be at. And in the same way that, because what I tend to hear the most is that when I say you need to bring some energy into your solar plexus. The solar plexus isn't imaginary. There's a solar plexus and it's a bunch of nerve bundles. There's a lot of energy in your gut. There's a lot of energy in your gut. So when I say you need to bring your attention into your solar plexus, people will get really upset and say, I believe in God, God heals me. Absolutely. But you wouldn't go to the doctor if the doctor said you need a pacemaker because your heart is beating out of rhythm. You would never equate what they're doing to bringing your attention into your solar plexus. It's the same thing. You're focusing electrical input. You're focusing the electrical impulses that follow your thoughts, that follow your feelings. And so as we're bringing attention, we're pushing energy into that spot. We're telling our body, focus on the solar plexus. We're bringing that vibration into alignment with the rest of our energetic bodies. And it is totally my solid belief that in another 10, 20 years, we will be studying this in completely different ways. The research is being done, but mostly by integrative studies colleges. Like the University of Arizona did a research article on heart energy being able to control the neurological responses in a human being. And we're seeing lots of different quantum entanglement theories being tested on humans, where two humans are told information and asked to think of each other and share that information, and the information gets shared. Oops. Einstein called that spooky knowledge, and we just call that coincidence now, or psychic abilities, but it's the energy that's connected between two things cannot be broken unless it's purposefully broken. And so that is where you will start to get into using essential oils in your energetic fields. So the two ways that we use essential oils for our energy adjustments are the entrainment that I just talked about, where when we place essential oils over a nerve bundle where there's an excess of nervous energy or underactive nervous energy, depending on which oil we use, oils themselves have vibrations. Plants have vibrations. If we walk it back, plants have a vibrational measurement. You can measure a plant's vibrational output. You can measure the pain that a plant may feel when you're cutting things off of it. You can measure its response to sunlight. You can measure its response to temperature. So they have a vibrational output. When you use essential oils, you're condensing the vibrational output of that plant. essential oils have a high vibration because of that. So it's a lot of plants and it's a lot of plant material. Every single thing on the earth has a vibrational element to it. And so not just animate objects, not just sentient objects, in the same exact way, right? When I talked about clocks earlier, in the same way that a pendulum will swing and will bring other pendulums into alignment with it, right? That's called entrainment. So when you set a bunch of pendulums off, if you leave the room, they will all start to sync up and join into a rhythm. In that same way, essential oils will carry a vibration, and you can use them with your vibration to raise it up, to lower it down if you're anxious, you know, different emotional states that we might be in. You can use essential oils and the concept of entrainment to raise your physical vibration up higher so that you can think clearer, you can act clearer, and you can get a better perspective on what's going on in your life. So that's one of the ways that we use essential oils in the energetic world to raise the vibration, lower the vibration as it might be, bring the vibration into alignment with who we are and what we want, and not to let other people control the environment. And that's one of the biggest problems I have with the concept of being an empath. People will say, I'm an empath, so people overwhelm me. Everybody is an empath. Everybody on the human planet is an empath. And this is scientifically proven. And I understand that not everybody wants to read scientific articles or wants to read different research that's kind of out there at the moment. But it is pretty widely known that human beings are social creatures. And within 30 to 60 seconds of entering into a social situation, our brain, without our knowledge, our subconscious is evaluating the situation and figuring out where we have to put ourselves to be social in that environment. So it's the reason why you can walk into a room and immediately feel unsafe. Or you walk into a room and you immediately feel safe. Or you're around somebody and your body relaxes, because your body is constantly working to keep you safe, to maintain homeostasis, and to advance you amongst the social structure of human beings. So we are all empaths. We are living, breathing electrical wiring, right? That is constantly picking up on nervous impulses in the environment, in other people, in animals, in buildings, right? We're constantly doing that. One of the main reasons that getting out into nature can reset you, because of that vibration and the electrical energy that those living beings are giving off, you're picking up on it. The essential oils being released into the air that make you smell the cypress or the juniper or the flowers that are blooming. You're getting all of that electrical stimulus and you're incorporating it and raising your vibration. So we are all empaths. We're all empathic because our bodies are designed to respond to electrical impulses. Our bodies are also designed perfectly to give off electrical impulses that can what? Attract other people, make them feel safe, make them feel calm. So we don't have to hide away in a tower because we pick up on vibrations of other people. Our ability to pick up on vibrations of other people is what makes us social. So being an empath is what makes you able to go out into the world and to interact and to love people and to create community. The problem is we've all experienced so much trauma and we give zero awareness to the electrical impulses other people are picking up and giving off. And we act as if it's magic and voodoo if we talk about it, right? If I walk into a room and say, whoa, energy's really off in here, like, what's up? People are like, oh, there she goes again, right? But those same kind of feelings come into people that are like, oh, I had the worst day at work, this person was being out of control, this happened and then that happened, and everybody was off. They can say that just fine, but if you start to talk about raising the energy and giving them techniques to maybe increase the vibration of the room, then it's magic, right? So we need to be mindful of the fact that we are aware of other people's energy and we're able to control a room with our own. You can be the strongest swinging pendulum in a room of pendulums. You can absolutely walk into a room and set your own vibration and bring everybody along with you. And that is what using essential oils does for your vibrational set point. you want to go into a room and be taken seriously and speak confidently, you need to make sure you set your vibration to that. You walk in and people will notice and they'll adjust themselves. Not because they're consciously aware of the fact, but because energetic beings, we adjust ourselves to mesh with each other. So wherever you are able to be the strongest swinging pendulum. And that's one of the reasons that we use essential oils before we talk, or we use essential oils before we go into a situation where we need to make sure we contain ourselves. And again, this is not new. At the cancer hospital that I talked about, we had to go through extensive training to be able to be in the room when we give a cancer diagnosis, or to be in the room when we give a terminal diagnosis, or to be in the room when we show the patient the results of their life-changing surgery. We have extensive training on how to control your posture, how to control your mind, how to control your mood, how to control and maintain hope, because the person in the bed probably will not be able to do that for themselves. And so you need to maintain that, because if you walk in there thinking it's desperate, what does that patient think? This is all very, very well known in a caregiver role, that how you walk into a room and how you give a diagnosis is going to carry on with that patient throughout their treatment. And so when I left the cancer world and went into the ICU, one of the things that, doctors and other nurses used to say all the time is, I love when you are running a code, it's always it's more calm, right? Everybody just works better. And it's not because I'm the most intelligent person in the room, it's because I am good in a storm, right? I can bring everybody to my calm in that storm because I have the awareness of my energy. I have the awareness of what I put off, and I know that my mind and my body are controllable, that I do not get pulled into everybody else's chaos. I calm everyone's chaos with my vibration. And the same thing happens at home. The same thing happens in your relationships with your children. If your children are freaking out and you jump in the soup of vibrational freak out with them, that doesn't help anything. If you can just stay calm and stay aware, you can bring them back into your calm, right? And that is where we use a lot of essential oils to bring me and my child to the same vibrational set point. So that's one of the other reasons that I feel like essential oils have made me a better parent, right? Because they've made me calmer, but they've given me a tool to say, okay, we're both off. Let's bring ourselves together. Let's use the same oil. And while we use that same oil, we're going to be the same vibration. And we're going to bring ourselves to that same level. And it just helps to bring all of that. They call that resonance, right? When you're vibrating at that same place and you get to that spot where, and everybody's had this happen. You go out for a glass of wine or a glass of coffee and you sit across from somebody and your vibrations are aligned and you match. And you're just going. Everything that you say, it's like a yes and oh my gosh, me too. And then you're sharing, and then all of a sudden you start opening up because all your instincts are, we're safe, right? We're safe. This person gets us, and you're just vibing. So that's resonance, and we call that in the energy healing realm. That's what we're seeking when we're doing an energy healing treatment. That's what we're seeking, is to bring people into resonance with all is well, I am safe, all of those feelings of calm comfort. And so the second way that we use essential oils in the energy realm, so we use entrainment, which is getting our vibrational set point aligned with that essential oil's vibrational set point. The other way is using them as an anchor. So we have so much research now that tells us that our thoughts matter, and that if we think a certain way for a certain length of time, our brain will start to intuitively and instinctually pick up on those things in the environment, because we are wired to be self-healing, and we are wired to, as I've said before, fit in and be a social creature. We have a social structure. We're pack animals. We need to be together. And so we are designed to bring ourselves into alignment with the largest portion of our environment. So this is why if you're around a lot of people that are super sad and negative all the time, you are going to instinctually start to pick up on sad, depressed energies throughout the world. It's why if you watch the news and allow all of that negativity in your brain all the time, your brain sets that as, this is our community. This is all subconscious too, right? It's not choice. Your brain is trying to be a social creature. This social situation is dangerous. This social situation is sad. Get on this level so that you can be in community with these other people. So it's why you want to be mindful of what you put into your brain, and you want to anchor your thoughts so that your thoughts start to become more and more positive. So you're feeding your brain with the concept that this world is safe. This world is kind. This world is full of community. I'm safe in this world. And you want your brain to start looking for that. You want to look for that. Like the whole Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, where he says his mom taught him when there's an emergency to look for the helpers. That's a brain training exercise, right? Look for the helpers, look for the people doing good, because it starts to confirm for you that the world is good, that when bad things happen, people come to help, and we start to anchor ourselves in that truth. And what our brain does is start to look for the good, even without us telling it to. And one of the things that you can do when you're trying to rewire your brain to think in a certain way, you want to start forcing yourself to act a different way. So one of the exercises I do when I'm trying to assimilate new ways of doing something or break out, I have a little bit of a control issue, a lot of a control issue, and big changes always scare me, right? Like I like to have control, I like to know where my life is going. And so when I'm trying to break out of that mold and become more adventurous, I do things like force myself to take a different way home, force myself to take a different way and slow down and look at things around me, right? Positive reinforcement for trying something new, positive reinforcement for trying something scary. I often will take the scary road with all the ledges and cliffs and no guardrails. And then every time I do it, I remember I'm safe when I try new things. So doing those things kind of trains your brain. So that's what we can use essential oils with as far as anchors. You can choose any essential oil. There are books, websites, all the things that'll tell you what an essential oil is good for. But using your own essential oils and forming a relationship and understanding what that one might do for you is really important. So for me, the really herby oils, the things that like Melissa, the lemon balm, lemon myrtle, marjoram, thyme, oregano, those like cooking herbs give me real good feelings. So when I'm trying to anchor a specific thought, marjoram is known as the oil of discernment anyway, so it will help with that. But when I'm trying to anchor a thought, marjoram reminds me of being in the kitchen, feeling safe, connected to my ancestry, being that herbalist, witchy mama woman in the woods in my little thatch roof hut, right? That's who I go to when I'm like baking bread or making something in the kitchen. And so when I'm trying to anchor a feeling, I will think the thought, I will think the feeling, and then I inhale the oil at the same time. And then that goes into your brain, into your olfactory system, into your limbic system, and it works with your chemicals, your hormones, to start to set a vibrational pattern for that thought. And anytime that you smell that marjoram, it'll re-pull all of that vibrational energy back up. So you're training your brain and your body to respond a very specific way to that essential oil. So when I'm doing an energy healing session with somebody, I'm using crystals to help amplify or control electrical output throughout your body, because that's what they do. And if that scares you, that's okay. You have quartz in your watches. If you have an electric fireplace, most of those have quartz in them. There's quartz that plays music when you're using a vinyl record, right? There is tourmaline, I think it is used in all sorts of different electrical systems because it can transmit high voltage energy without shattering like man-made products do. So we know that crystals work with energetic impulses and electrical impulses. It's a no-brainer. Anyone who's like an electrical engineer would know this and have no issue with it. So using them with our body, we use them with the electrical energy of our body. So we're using essential oils in that same way. So we're going to use essential oils to bring different electrical systems into alignment with each other. And then we're also going to use essential oils to help anchor the thoughts we want to keep in our energetic body. So those are the two main ways that we use essential oils to really control our energy and to control how we output and what we accept as input. And this makes all of us humans that are all empaths, see, you learned something new today, it allows us to really take control of our lives and not let our lives run us, and to really be able to see. And that doesn't mean you're always going to be perfect either. Having control of your energetic systems doesn't mean you're always going to use the controls, right? And that's something important to remember. Just because you have a vacuum cleaner doesn't mean your house is dust free, right? Doesn't mean that there isn't cat hair on the couch. You have the tools. It doesn't mean that you're always going to use them. And there are times where I'll walk into, the kitchen and say to my husband, I'm triggered. And I'm trying to figure out why I'm triggered, and I need to play this off of you a little bit. So it's not saying that anyone's perfect or always in control, but you have to remember that it's the exact same thing as if you start to have heart palpitations because you've been drinking too much coffee and your potassium and all your electrolytes are out of whack. You would never in a million years just say, well, I can't take anything for that because I have a religion or a spiritual belief, right, that tells me that I'm perfect and created perfectly and I don't need anything to help me shift that. You would maybe eat a banana because bananas have potassium, or you'd maybe lay off coffee and drink some water. Maybe you would put some magnesium on your lower back, right? We have tools because we are self-healing, but we need things. We do not exist in a vacuum, and your spiritual beliefs are perfect for you, and nothing should ever lead you away from your spiritual beliefs. But make sure that you're not fearful of tools that lead you closer to your spiritual beliefs. Because the simple fact is, when your electrical systems are aligned and your electrical systems are functioning properly, you will have more clarity. You will feel closer to the God of your understanding. You will feel closer to the universal knowledges that exist for you. You will be open and available to love people better. You will be open and available to love yourself better. So it's not just saying that, this essential oil is going to fix and heal your throat chakra, right? When you get into that territory and you're operating without an understanding of what you're doing and without an understanding that you're just simply trying to bring yourself into a better alignment, then it does kind of get kind of weird, right? Because if it were that easy, anyone with marjoram would be able to speak their truth clearer. And that's just not the way it is. So it feels very false to people, or it feels a little too good to be true, right? And that's where a lot of resistance comes from. Oh, if essential oils and crystals could fix that, I would be great, right? But we're not acknowledging that our entire electrical body requires every single part to be functioning in order to have smooth electricity. So think about it like your house. You can have power coming from the road. You can have power getting to the house. But if you flip on a switch in your upstairs bathroom and it doesn't work, are you just like, guess I wasn't meant to have light in my bathroom, right? You would never do that. And you would never, maybe you would, I don't know, turn and just, maybe pray about it, right? I don't know that people do that in the modern world where we're aware of electricity. You would figure out what's not getting there. You check the breaker system. Did something flip? Is there an outage somewhere? Is there a shortage? You call an electrician to come and check all your outlets. You do the things to fix the things. That's what we do. It's 2019. We understand so much more than we did before. And so you run the tests, you check the things, it's electrical. You don't have an emotional attachment to it. Sometimes I do, right? Like our sub pump went out in our basement and I was like, that seems awfully poetic that it burnt out trying to pump out excess water that it couldn't handle. And I'm in the house with a newborn, trying to kind of tread water with all of the activities of Olive's dance schedule and, our vacation for the next week and all these different things. Yeah, or change the light bulb, Deidre. Right. So you can feel overwhelmed. You can see the spiritual significance in it, but you still know how to fix it and you still know you got to fix it. We still went to Family Farm and Home, bought a new sub pump, plugged it in. Everything's fine, right? And so that's the whole thing, that you want to view your body that way. You want to view your body as an electrical being inside of this flesh suit, right? We have electrical impulses, and that is the energy. That is energy. So every time somebody says, I need an energy alignment, it doesn't mean that it's this crazy woo-woo thing. They need help getting their energies put back in alignment. They need the tools. They need to talk to somebody about where they're off. That's what Reiki is. You can come to Reiki healing, and I use myself to kind of channel that calming energy. And through the process of entrainment, for those of you hopping on late, Google that. Through the process of entrainment, we can bring you into alignment so that you function, right? And so that you're aware of where your blockages are. And when you get attuned to feeling that energy and you're aware of the electrical impulses, you can feel the electrical impulses. So you can check your body. You can sit in meditation and kind of like scan your body. Do you feel hotter in some places? Do you feel colder? Do you feel off? Where's your tension at? Is your neck out, right? Like, oh, my left hip feels funky when I sit up straight. Or, you know, you can feel all of these things in your body the more attuned you are. So I hope that you're all understanding what I'm saying when this is simply a function of our body that we are ignoring because it is not easily understood. So you can research Tesla. Tesla was very big into the vibrational electrical soup. Not unheard of, and it's not that crazy. It's just harder to understand unless you understand everything being talked about. And it's one of my funny pet peeves is that Einstein actually talked quite a bit about the energy and the electrical impulses in the world, and people didn't understand it. And they, you know, there's even a quote from him that he said that quantum entanglement is spooky. And it's funny that the world just decided to take from Einstein what was easy for them to apply and then leave all the rest. And so the only time that you ever get into that quantum entanglement is if you're studying quantum physics. And I don't know very many people who study quantum physics on a casual level, right? And I feel like everyone can kind of identify that that's not maybe something people do. But I think it's something that we should have an introduction to, just like you might not study advanced cardiology, but you have a working knowledge that your heart beats, and if it beats funky, you need to do something about it. And so I think that bringing that higher level education into a more simplistic, digestible version is my life's work. That's what I love to do. And I love to make people more aware of how perfect they are and that they're not broken and that they can heal very quickly. And it doesn't need to be 12 years in talk therapy, though it can also be that. I'm not here to replace therapy or seeing a doctor. It can also be that. But changing a lot of how you feel can be quick, and it can be easy, and it can be something that fulfills you and sustains you for the rest of your life, that working knowledge. Imagine if you lived somewhere where nobody knew about cardiology and you had this funky heartbeat, and every time you ran, you felt awful, and every time you drank coffee, you felt awful. You would never run, you would never drink coffee, and you would probably distance yourself from everyone else who was running, everyone else who was drinking coffee. You'd feel different, you'd feel abnormal. And then imagine moving somewhere where they were like, oh yeah, it's just potassium. Just take some potassium. You can drink coffee and run and be fine, right? Imagine if that just was the way that we looked at energy systems. It would be fantastic. And one day we will, mark my words. But it all begins with you. So pay attention to your electrical impulses. Pay attention when you walk in the room, how you hold yourself, and do you instantly become a sponge of other people because you're unaware of your own electrical impulse? And work on changing that. And if you have questions, leave them in the comments. You can private message me if you want to stay anonymous. I'm happy that we had this chat. I hope it clears it up because I get so many messages where people are very afraid of the fact that I say the word energy so often. And I have people ask me if I can use a different word. And that's another thing to develop within yourself, wanting to control words that people use. I have people tell me they don't like if I use the word psychic. They don't like energy. They don't like a lot of the words that I use. And so I use a lot of those words to help trigger people along in their healing path. So it's why I call myself a witch. I like it if you're scared, makes the work easier for me. I like to use the word energy, universal knowledge, all of the things. It's good if you're triggered, right? it's good. It's a good starting point if you're real worked up, and then we can see where all your trauma and your blocks are. So everybody have a beautiful Thursday, and let me know if you have any questions.